any of you to be inappropriate or be weird. Today's movie is in celebration of Halloween season. It's a horror/romance movie written, directed, and starring Larry Fessenden. It starts with our main character, Sam, who's played by Fessenden himself. He's going through boxes and packing for a move because his father has just died and he's broken up with his girlfriend. He makes his way to a Halloween party, and that's where he meets Anna. They make a connection after talking for a while, but he loses her number when his wallet is stolen on the train. Many days go by without contact, so he calls his friends to ask about her, but they don't seem to know who she is. One day, she just so happens to be at a street fair he's at with his friends, and she couldn't have come at a better time because he's been under a lot of stress. One of his employees has vanished, and like I mentioned, he's grieving the loss of two people. Although he's fascinated by Anna and she brings a little color to his life, new problems arise because she keeps disappearing and coming back out of nowhere. He notices that his health declines the more physically intimate they become. She has a ravenous sexual appetite that drains him. That's because Anna is a vampire and they've become addicted to each other. I didn't spoil anything. A Google search will reveal as much. I liked this movie way more than I thought I would. It's one of the best movies I've watched this year, actually. I had watched another one of Fessenden's movies, Wendigo, which I also ended up liking more than I had expected to. They're both unlike movies I've watched because Fessenden's take on different themes is very unique. I'm the kind of person who can overlook a few flaws in movies if they're atmospheric enough, and both movies were. Like I've said several times, I know nothing about film, but if I had the wherewithal to make movies, I'd make them look and feel like Fessenden's. He worked with a tight budget, so he couldn't get the best actors, but that doesn't matter. There's a reason why his movies are cult favorites. He and Meredith Snader did well. Pretty good actors. His friend's character was a little obnoxious, but it wasn't too bad. It was bittersweet seeing New York City with the same qualities I had experienced growing up. I recognized a few neighborhoods that don't have the same essence anymore because the city has become a shell of what it was at its apex. Mind you, I was a baby when this came out, and the city had already lost so much of its essence with things like the deaths of different subcultures, commercialism, and the usual stuff that happens with time. I bring this up to my sister a lot, but it's so goofy how when you're a kid, you feel like the world will stay suspended in time. You don't account for all the things that influence society because you're too busy being carefree. I would have loved to live my life in a world before social media, wokeness, and shit stains like the Kardashians, but such is life. It could always be a lot worse. You could end up like Sam, me a lot of trouble down the line. Honestly though, this movie felt like a tamer version of my last relationship, so that's why it had such a strong impact on me. I can overlook the movie's flaws because of its message, but I should mention them anyway. Sam doesn't really question Anna's motives or origin. None of his friends tried to figure out how she got to the party. You'd think with their friends clearing decline, they'd try to find out who the hell she is, but they kinda don't. Lots of times, people are too caught up in their own problems, so that's something to consider, but a lot of their meetups centered on drinking, and they didn't really try to curb Sam's alcoholism. Just drives home the point that nobody's gonna fix your problems but you, and it's foolish to expect that. Kinda selfish if I'm being honest, but I don't know. His friends could have done something. I would have. If I'm not mistaken, Sam's dad was an anthropologist, so there's a folkloric component, but it wasn't explored enough. Anna is a succubus slash vampire, but you don't find out where she comes from and why she chose Sam and some of the people in his orbit. At one point, she brings a totem to show off to Sam's father's friends, and toward the end of the movie, Sam receives a call from one of them saying it's urgent they talk about it, but the movie ends so suddenly and that goes nowhere. Habit isn't horror in the strictest sense. I'd say it feels more like an erotic thriller. The vampiristic scenes aren't scary. I felt like I was just watching two freaks engaging in blood play or something. When they're being intimate, it's quite graphic though. Just a warning, in case you choose to watch this with someone who's not a romantic partner, that would be very awkward for both of you. Bear in mind that the intimate scenes are central to the movie, so I wouldn't skip them if I were you. There's no crazy special effects either, but nothing wrong with that. There's a moment when they're together in the tub and Anna tells Sam that men like to fall in love, they don't like to stay in love, and I feel like that's true in a lot of cases. I don't feel like the men I've known have done enough introspection to understand why their relationships have soured. Interesting that she's the one who said it, considering what her motives were. She's very manipulative. We tend to let our guards down when we're naked in bed with someone else. Some of us will have our most vulnerable, heartfelt talks with people after we've done the deed. So, seeing Sam plunge into an obsessive, all-consuming romance stirred a lot of pity in me. He was trying to fill the void with lots of wild intimacy that just gets weirder and weirder. They even do it in a morgue after witnessing a death, but he's too infatuated with her to put a stop to it. He just goes with the flow. I watched and read a couple of interviews with Fessenden because I wondered how much of Sam's character was based on his life, considering that he He's one of the most original voices to emerge in the horror genre, and Del Toro has done a lot of cool stuff, so definitely trust his opinion.